you know, this is. I'm hesitant to play this clip. I mean, that's a lie. I'm not hesitant to play it, but I know it might rub some people the wrong way because look, I have love for a lot of people who are in DSA. I know a lot of DSA members, and they're all lovely people whose hearts are in the right place, and I think their politics are good. But I saw a tweet that I just could not resist playing on the air. So here's a tweet. That says, if you're interested in organizing a union at your workplace, the best thing you can do is stay as far away from the DSA as possible. This is their conference in, I believe, 2019 in Atlanta, Georgia. Those who are familiar with this site know what we're about to see. But who do you trust to organize a warehouse? Chris Smalls or these people?
Well, in this room, I see that no one's clapping for me. It could be because I'm not engaging, but it also is because everyone's doing this. And that's really important because those loud bursts of noise, even though this is a noisy space, when we can do something like reducing that, that's really important. So please don't clap, shoot up these. And additionally with the noise issue, like avoid hissing, avoid waving banners, right? If you don't know what to do, show up these, right? I'm sure there's lots of ways that we can communicate to each other without needing to rely on something that's going to hurt somebody else. We have quiet rooms that are available. There's a range of options of these, right? On 7, there's one that has video but no sound, if you still want to be able to observe the convention, but the sound is an issue. There's also on Piedmont 8, a completely quiet room. One thing to note there, please don't go into that space with anything that's like an aggressive scent, for instance. Right?
My God, an aggressive thing. So they fucking rented a room. They rented a room at the hotel where they would run the video feed of the conference, but not the audio, in case you wanted to observe what was happening in the conference without actually hearing anything that anyone was saying.
With all the offensive sounds of the conference happening, you know, yeah, like the conversation or the content of the speech.
Well, this is why this movement is so anti-comedy, because they're so easy to make fun of.
Oh my God.
They know the comedy is the death of them. They can't let anybody make a joke about them because they're so inherently ridiculous that as soon as the laughter starts, it's just never going to stop. So they have to, don't make fun of us. You can't make fun of us. This entire aspect of social justice, it covers a lot of bases. So I don't want to say all social justice, but this aspect of it, it's very much about lowering all of the shelves to accommodate the shortest person in the room at everyone else's expense. And that's never going to catch on.
I think it's beyond that. I think it's beyond that. I don't know of a single person who would go to a conference and be offended by the sound of the people speaking.
Well, but this is where that goes. This is where this.
Well, that's what Joey said. They're making sure not to clap in the conference room in case people are offended by the sound. But if even talking and hand waving is too much, they actually rent a room at the hotel where you can go and watch a video feed of the conference with no sound. And not only is there no sound allowed in that room, but there's no aggressive sense allowed in that room, which means, Joey, you definitely were not allowed in that room.
Yeah, what do I do? Is there an aggressive scent but no sound room as well? Like, what? How many different? And this is the problem with intersectionality and
I was just gonna say
as a whole.
Yes,
you know. Yes. And I keep bringing up intersectionality.
This is what I mean. This is where this goes. This is the logical conclusion. If you're going to keep going in this direction, where you're going to subdivide and subdivide and subdivide, and rather than to adopt a standard, yeah, life sucks. Get a fucking helmet, man. You know, not everybody has the same abilities or some people are differently abled. Okay, man. Like, yeah, you can try to accommodate that up to a certain fucking point. Up to a certain point. With everything else,
you got to have balance, right? Balance in all things.
How many people really like, oh, I can't take loud clapping. How many people does that cover? Really? That you're going to organize your entire conference around this theoretical person who doesn't like loud clapping? Well, I get a post. The old lady in 4B is now dictating all organizing efforts?
Right, yeah. I send out a post. 50,000 people see the post. It's in this group. It's in that group. one person says something about it, all of a sudden, oh, well, a restriction. Okay, so 50,000 people saw it. One person said something, right, and now the other 50,000 people don't get to see the next thing. Like, that seems a little like,
well, that's this whole movement.
Every different group, everyone's got their own special way they want to do it. And like you said in the, I read the article Keaton told me to read about your issue on, just taking on the Republicans about one issue instead of taking on the Democrats on every single fucking thing. And, when I first read it, before we first did our first interview, right, and I was like researching you guys, I went and, checked it out, and I was that one, I read that and I was like, I wasn't really feeling it. After 6 months in these trenches, that shit hit a little different. Like,
yeah,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, it's funny because they're always talking about how stupid the right wing is. Listen, man, I have never come across the kind of stupidity I've come across on the left in any other sector of society. That's the honest to God truth. I'm not saying everybody on the right is, a member of the fucking Mensa, but some of the things, you know what it is? It's almost like it's a kind of stupid that you have to at least have earned a bachelor's to illustrate. Like it's having your head so far up your ass that you just have no fucking idea what's going on.
Well, that's exactly
you guys
the problem.
Got to see the Facebook conversation I had with a doctor who owns a restaurant it's Michigan, I want to say, outside of Detroit, and I'm working on something with this now because it started out simple enough with one of my snarky little comments, but now this person who makes sure to write doctor in front of every statement they make, and red flag. And so by the end of like maybe 10 or 15 comments, this thing's a pile of red flags. And then, then it gets vitriolic and mean, just like that. It's just like, and it's that sector, that certain, like you just said, like you get this certain level of arrogance and just meanness because you think everything when it's like, everything about this one specific thing, which kind of makes, what you might know about other things less useful because you were never focusing on them. So how much did you pay attention to that anyways? You were focused on your thing, right? Like,
right.
Well, look, I mean, that's the exact problem that we saw on display in that DSA conference. And one of our commenters here, Eric, says that, we're spending too much time on this. I'll take that as a note. But, look, the reason why I brought that up is to draw contrast because you look at a guy like Chris.
That's an important point.
Who did it. He went out and fucking
and
did
he's
it.
He's not.
Well, they told him it wasn't going to work.
He did it
and
because
you'll never
he's a
make
real
it, and you shouldn't fight it.
Who lives it and knows what the fuck he's talking about. He knows how to communicate to working class people because he is one.
Right.
Yeah.
He's not a fucking overeducated dweeb waving his hands in the air saying there's a hotel room if you don't like the sound of people's voices. Why the fuck you're at a conference if you can't take the sound of someone talking into a microphone? I don't understand, but it's never going to happen that way.
I mean, it's just common sense.
That way. And you have to take a note. You have to look at a guy like Chris who went out there and won.
Yep.
And you have to say,
and there was nothing in it for him anymore. Amazon was never going to hire him back, right? Amazon was never going to take him back. He had no horse in that race at that point, except for to help the people who he struggled alongside until this happened, right? Like once that job's done, so many people in this space have, you try and you get beaten down by the people telling you no, you can't do it, and then you just kind of go back to work somewhere else, and you talk about it. We had the Key West seceded from the United States in 1983. They made a big ruckus for like 2 weeks, and then roadblock thing got taken down, and they were just like, all right, we'll be American again. It's sort of, you get your concession and then you go home. Like right now isn't just, yes, he won that president's seat, but now the real fight starts really. Now he has a spot.
What their contract is going to be.
Yeah, because now's the real work.
What they're going to be able to
that's
extract
the
from these fucking
right?
bills. Yeah, no, absolutely. But I mean, to Keaton's point, yeah, I mean, coming from a working class background, I think that's part of what distinguishes this show. I feel that most of our peers in this space do not share our background. I don't think a lot of our peers in the space actually worked in a warehouse during COVID. But speaking of Keaton, not myself.
I did a little
I don't
underwater
think,
construction during that time.
yeah, as I think a lot of our peers don't have those kinds of life experiences, and that's part of why a lot of them miss this. A lot of them miss how repulsive a lot of these figures are. I mean, for me, I can just that guy, the hands guy. God, man, that guy wouldn't last a half an hour in a bar in my neighborhood. Like, much less to go organize.
And Key
people.
West, he'd be somewhere
Like, they
doing
Well, that's the
something with
thing.
his hands.
How long would a guy like that last on the floor of an Amazon warehouse? That's the point I was going to make.
So,
These people wouldn't last 5 minutes on the floor of an Amazon warehouse.
I want
And
to
so-
say this isn't a new problem. Like this was an ongoing lament in the 60s that you had all these people coming out of, fucking Berkeley and Columbia trying to organize the working men, and they weren't getting anywhere. But the difference is at that time, you did actually have working class organizers, and the working class compared to today, they sounded like fucking Bernie Sanders. When you look at these speeches from guys like Jimmy Hoffa back then, they sound like fucking Trotskyites.
Right.
Like the language of the unions back then was very class conscious in a way that has been all but stripped from the working class.